Hey, how are Rev Youth? Let's talk about parable number 9. We're almost there. We are almost at double-digit parables. I hope you've enjoyed them so far. Today, we're going to be continuing really kind of from the last parable that we talked about, where we looked at the good servant who was ready for the master, ready for him to come home, was ready for him to knock on the door and open it up, and was rewarded because of it. And so we had talked about how that's really what we should be striving for. We want to be good servants who are waiting and ready for Jesus to return, and because of which we're rewarded for it. We're rewarded for it here on earth as we get to live the lives we were created for, but we're also rewarded for all eternity getting to spend it with God. Today, we're looking at the continuation, but Jesus gives us the reverse of that, or really the opposite, a bad servant, and one who is ultimately punished for it. So we find ourselves in Luke chapter 12, and we're going to be reading from verse 42 all the way to 48. And this is what Jesus shares. Who then is the faithful and wise manager, whom his master will set over his household, to give them their portion of food at the proper time? Blessed is that servant whom his master will find so doing when he comes. Truly I say to you, he will set him over all his possessions. But if that servant says to himself, my master is delayed in coming, and begins to beat the male and female servants, and to eat and drink and get drunk, the master of that servant will come on a day when he does not expect him, and at an hour he does not know, and will cut him in pieces and put him with the unfaithful. And the servant who knew his master's will but did not get ready or act according to his will receive a severe beating. But the one who did not know and did what deserved the beating will receive a light beating. Everyone whom much was given, of him much will be required, and from him to whom they entrusted much, they will demand the more. So what is Jesus communicating here? He is giving us the contrast to the good servant. Really, he's doing this so that we know what not to do. We don't want to be bad servants. And the illustration we're given is there's this bad servant who gets tired of waiting. He's been waiting for a while, and he's thinking, you know what, my master may never come back. So why am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? Why not actually just start taking advantage of other people and try and lift myself up and try and build this life that I feel good about? And yeah, it may be temporary, but I'm going to do me in this season. Like, I don't care about anybody else. I don't even care about my master anymore. He may never come back. And that's the illustration we're given. And so he starts beating up on his fellow servants. He starts treating people poorly. He starts eating and drinking in abundance. And he starts living this lifestyle that is totally contrary to the lifestyle he should be living. And Jesus communicates that the master will come back. And that servant, he's going to be at a loss because the master will come back when he's not expecting it, at an hour he does not know, at a time he's not aware of. And the punishment is severe. He missed the mark. He fell short. He's not following Jesus. He may have known the truth, because the parable tells us he knows the will of his master, but he chooses not to do it. And for many of us, that may be our reality. We know the will of God. We know the lives that we should be living. We know the things we shouldn't be doing. But we fall into this place where we say, yeah, I know it, but I don't really care that much. I want to do what I want to do. The penalty for that is severe. We're falling short. We're sinning against God, and we're sinning against God knowing who he is. The parable tells us, for those where much has been given, much is expected. We have been given so much. We have been forgiven of our sins. That debt that hanged over us is wiped clean. We have been given so much. And so in return for that, our lives should just be dedicated to honoring and worshiping the one who canceled that debt. That's what's expected of us. That is what the master is expecting to see when he comes back. A church of people who loves him with everything he has, but also loves his people, loves his creation. One of the worst witnesses that we can have as Christians is where we claim to know the will of God, but we don't live it out. We don't treat people well. One of a scenario in my life that this reminds me of is I remember being in college, and I remember I was in a scenario where there was a a coworker of mine where she didn't believe in Jesus. She was living a very worldly lifestyle, very worldly beliefs, and she knew I was Christian, and we were very cordial. Like, we were able to have conversations about all sorts of things. She respected me, I respected her, and I remember there was an older woman who really just kind of came down on her for the lifestyle she had, the way she was living her life, and to be honest, she didn't know better, but this woman who claimed to be a Christian just comes down on her. And I remember it being such a tense and awkward situation, and really just a horrible witness of who Jesus is. And so as we left, I remember just tapping her on the shoulder and being like, hey, like, I apologize for what just happened, because I know I'm not the one who came at you like that, but I want you to know that's a horrible representation of Jesus. That's like a bad servant who is just beating up on the people around them because, they've lost track of what's important. And I was able to actually have a conversation with this girl about Jesus and who he is. And I don't know if she's put her faith in him, but I'm praying that she has. But that's what it should look like. We should be good servants who are waiting for Jesus, living our lives in the light, having the light shine through us and pointing other people to Jesus. So Rev Youth, my challenge for you this week is to examine how you're living. Are you waiting for Jesus? Are you living your life for Jesus? Or have you just completely lost track? Do you know the will of God? And are you living it out? Or do you know the will of God and you're choosing to just do your own?